8:43 is the time. We are tracking breaking news this morning. President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump have tested positive for the coronavirus. The president confirmed that in this tweet just before 1 this morning. He says they will quarantine in the White House. We've also learned within just the last hour or so that Vice President Pence, the Second Lady, the White House Chief of Staff, and the Treasury Secretary have all tested negative for the virus this morning. Let's get right to Jessica Alpern. She is live at FGCU now with the program director of the FGCU Physician Assistant Program to put all of this into perspective. Jessica.
Yeah, that's right. Good morning, Chris. So as soon as we learned about that positive test early this morning, I immediately reached out to Bob. So again, I do apologize for that early morning phone call, Bob. But people this morning waking up with a lot of questions when it comes to the overall health and well-being of the president. So I want to get straight to this question for you. I know it's one that's on everyone's mind, is how at risk does his age alone put him for potentially developing severe complications when it comes to the virus?
So good morning, and thanks for inviting me. So I think it's important to understand that anyone who's really over the age of 60 is more prone to develop COVID-19. Certainly the president in his 70s. So we're more concerned of his overall health and to make sure that they're going to be well taken care of. We're concerned about other factors generally with people because their immune system becomes decreased. It takes more time for their body to fight it off. So we want to make sure that the president is doing everything he can to make sure that he, his family, and other members that have contracted COVID-19 are going to be safe.
And so explain to me, you were talking about, the positive test just confirms that we know enough of the viral load has made it into his system. But the first thing we're going to have to watch for now is whether or not he does show symptoms or if he's in fact asymptomatic. So can you explain that first process that we're going to have to look out for?
Sure. So what typically happens is when someone gets the virus, it's typically been about 48 hours since they received the initial contact because the virus starts to replicate or create more of the virus in their system. Then it turns the test positive. What we don't know is anyone who's testing positive actually develops symptoms, because it's possible to be positive but not actually develop symptoms. So whether they develop a fever or other conditions, we don't know.
Okay, and so let's talk about now the contact tracing process that is already unfolding and that's going to be unfolding, because we know a lot of people thinking back to earlier this week with the presidential debate. And I want to ask you about the setting, because we know between the president, between former Vice President Joe Biden and the moderator, nobody was wearing a mask, and it was indoors, which we know is greater risk for potential spread of the virus. But however, they were social distance. So thinking about that setting, how at risk is really everybody who was in attendance at Tuesday's debate?
So certainly by being greater than 6 feet away, and certainly it appeared the podiums were, it's going to decrease the risk. But the fact that people were not wearing masks does increase their risk of contracting COVID-19. So the importance of contact tracing is going to be important, because they're going to backtrack and say who have they come in contact with, and then reach out to those people to make sure that they're not showing symptoms and that they're quarantining as appropriate.
And then what about the contact tracing within the White House? Because we know that he, along with First Lady Melania Trump, are now going into immediate isolation within the White House. So what is contact tracing and quarantining going to look like for the president, the family, and everyone within the administration?
So the White House certainly kind of functions within its own bubble anyway, and they've certainly been very protective of the president and the key staff members around them. So they're certainly going to take extra precautions to make sure that they're not coming in contact with outside people and that they're going to be well protected within the White House setting.
All right, well, Bob, we know this is a story that is developing by the second, so thank you so much for that expert insight. Of course, as soon as we learn any additional details about this, we are going to make sure we let you know both on air, online, and also through the Fox 4 app. For now, I'll send it back to you.
All right, good stuff there, Jessica. Thank you very much for getting out there and getting that interview so quickly. 2 minutes ago, Joe Biden tweeted this out. It's the first we've heard from him since the president tested positive. He says, "Jill and I send our thoughts to President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump for a swift recovery. We will continue to pray for the health and safety of the president and his family." Again, the first time we have heard from Joe Biden this morning since the president announced that he and the First Lady have the coronavirus.